welcome back to my channel. Today I want to show you how to make this super cute fall power wash distressed tumbler. It is a relatively easy tumbler and I can't wait to show you all of the steps. My name is Allison and I come on here every single week with a new tumbler or crafting tutorial to help you become a better tumbler maker. And if that sounds good to you, please consider subscribing down below so you don't miss the upcoming fall and holiday themed tumblers I have coming your way. For this tumbler, I used a few different glitters, the power wash technique, as well as distressed a little underneath the decal, and I think you could totally even do more with this style. So if you make one similar to this one, if it inspires you to make any type of tumbler, make sure you tag me when you share it on your social media pages, on Instagram or Facebook. I would love to see what you come up with. Comment below what you think of the tumbler and let me know if you plan on making one yourself. Let's get started. I used a bunch of different glitters for this tumbler. Many of them are from the Glitter Heart Company. I used Biscotti and Rusty for my two lighter colors. And then I moved into Chestnut and Mulberry, kind of like an orangey rose gold and a maroon. And then for the top, I used a navy blue that I had from Sass and Crafts. I will link all supplies used for this tumbler down in the description box below. The first step of your tumbler making will be to prep and base coat your tumbler. I chose to do a white base coat because I was using so many different glitters. It just made more sense to keep it white. So step 2 is to add your glitter. I like to brush on my bright tone to add my glitter, but you can use your finger or have your cup spinning if you prefer. I just think that I get better coverage when I do the brush. And I will say I put it on a little bit thicker of a coat because I just have so many glitters. I needed a little bit extra just to make sure it doesn't dry too quickly. I ended up going from bottom to top. So I started with the Biscotti and I just did the bottom edge before that bright tone would dry. And then I angled my cup down so that glitter could fall just a little bit. I did want it to fade nicely into the next color, so you'll see me throughout this process tilting my cup back and forth so the glitter can fall up the cup like right now, or when I move on to my next color, I will let it fall down the cup. I did want to save the glitters underneath, so I ended up swapping out the paper and moving on to my next color. If you do want to mix them all together, you could keep them and it would make a nice mist. So you will start with your line of, let's say this is Rusty. So I did a line and then I tilted my cup down and then up so you can see it fade into that first color and then start to fade towards what will be the next color. The next color is Chestnut. And I went in the exact same way. I knew that I wanted a solid line and then I angled my cup down so the glitter would fade. It just takes practice to get those fades the way you like it, but using similar colors like I am doing right now does help because they're just so similar. It looks better than if you're using two very contrasting colors. So I kept going with my Mulberry, which is just a maroon color, and then I finished up with my navy. Since I use bright tone to apply the glitter, it needs to dry for 4 hours. If you choose to use the glitter glue, you could wait for 2 hours, but this will take 4 hours to dry. I did go in, I was really hoping to only have to do 1 coat of glitter, so I kind of just picked up some of my extras and sprinkled it on in hopes that I could cover just a very few spots that didn't look quite as good. However, it looks pretty good. I did decide to let this dry for 4 hours and then go on with a second coat. So step 3 is to do a second coat of glitter if you need it. Remember, not all cups need a second coat, but anytime I do a second coat, I like to use the glitter glue. So what I did was just to get like not too much contamination of the glitter, I first did a dry brush. I didn't show that on the video, but I dry brushed it so any excess glitter would fall off. And then I went through and just did one kind of color at a time until I got the whole cup covered. And then I made it nice and flat and I applied my second coat right to this wet glue. Again, you might not need a second coat, but I just do feel like mine looked a lot better after the second coat, even though it looked okay after the first. So again, you can, on your second coat, you can kind of focus a little bit more on the fading portion because you have a solid base down already. Once I got all of the colors on for my second coat, I let it dry for 2 hours. Because I always use the glitter glue to apply second coats, I let it dry for 2 hours. The next step is to seal, flatten your glitter, apply your bright tone, and do your sandings until it is smooth. I don't have that on video, but I will link some videos down below if you would like to see those specific steps. So once the cup is smooth, I did my second sanding, and now I'm moving into the power wash technique. I'm using Dawn Power Wash that you could get at any store, and I'm using this Rust-Oleum metallic finish spray paint in the gold. I got it at the hardware store. And to do the power wash technique, you're just going to spray your power wash all over your cup. Remember that the spray paint does not stick to the power wash. So the more power wash you use, the less spray paint you're going to see. If you use less power wash, the more spray paint you're going to see. So you just have to find the balance of how much glitter you want to see and how much spray paint you want to see on your tumbler. So I right away go in with my spray paint. I highly recommend that you shake it up before you start this process so you don't have to wait in between adding your power wash. I just take a hose and rinse off all of that power wash and spray paint that did not stick to my tumbler. So here is what it looks like when it is all finished. I will let this dry for about 48 hours before I go in for the next step. I just let it dry kind of outside till all the drips are gone, and then I let it go for 24 hours to 48 hours. And then before I did the next step, I did do 3 coats of bright tone because I'm going to add tape to my tumbler. I didn't want to damage any of the spray paint. So I did 3 coats of bright tone before this step right here. I knew I wanted my decal kind of like in a square spot on this tumbler, so I decided to tape off that square, and I'm going to distress it with some spray paint. And because I am messy, I taped off the rest of the tumbler because I knew that I very likely would get spray paint all over it if I didn't tape it off. So I just decided to add tape around the whole cup except for where I wanted spray paint, so I didn't make any mistakes and mess up this tumbler work so far. Once it was taped, I took it outside and I started with the navy blue spray paint. This is Midnight Blue, and I just did a light coat. Again, shake up your spray paint really well, and I did a light coat and I let this dry for about an hour. Once I let that dry about an hour, I went in with this white spray paint, which is just the Krylon white. I tend to use Rust-Oleum, but I did not have any. So I just did a light coat of the white. I actually ended up letting this dry and doing a second coat, but I really don't recommend that. Just let it dry, do 1 coat of the white, and then start distressing because it'll be easier to remove the spray paint. So I took off the tape and moved into distressing this tumbler. To distress your tumbler, you're going to need 100% acetone, which I actually got on Amazon, but you can get at any local store by the nail polish remover or at a hardware store, and you're going to need some paper towel. So you're going to first take your acetone and just rub away what you don't want. So you'll see that my navy blue spray paint is spreading, so I will use acetone to clean that up. And I'm just going to take away around the edges until I'm happy with how it looks before I add my decal. I just felt like a decal on the glitter and the power wash wasn't going to show up very well, so I thought that maybe if I did a spray paint little spot, it would look a little bit better. Now, I'm not the best at this, and because I had 2 coats of that white spray paint, it was a little bit harder. So I do recommend just doing 1 coat and then taking your time to clean up as you go. You don't want to get that blue to spread anywhere extra if you don't have to. So I also go in with 70% alcohol to sort of clean up the edges. So I've used acetone, and 91 or 99 is probably better, but I'm using 70% here to just clean up around the edges of that spray paint. So when I add my decal and when I add my bright tone, the edges are nice and clean, distressed, but also clean, that you don't have random pieces of paint everywhere. So you're just going to keep going until you're happy with how it looks. You can't really mess it up. If you're not careful with where you're rubbing your paper towel, it just may become a little bit messier. So just take your time, and remember, you can always clean it up with acetone and with your rubbing alcohol. It is the way you like it. I do add 2 to 3 coats of Brightone before I add any clear decals, because I just want to make sure I have a nice smooth surface, and so that my edges become kind of blended in with the cup. So right here, I did 3 coats of Brightone before I added my decal. Remember that each coat of Brightone needs to dry for 4 hours. So I did 3 coats of Brightone 4 hours apart, and then it was time to add my decal. I decided to use clear sticker paper for this decal. So I printed it from my computer right on to clear sticker paper. I cut around the circle just close to the decal, not super close, you don't want to cut it, but just cut the circle around that decal and add it to your tumbler. This decal is from Sassy Tumbler Graphics, and you can actually use code Alison Crafts. I will link the shop down in the description box below, and you can save some money. The next step is just to do your final coats of Brightone. So I have a laser printer, so I could just print my decal, add it to my cup, and move right into my layers of Brightone. I did about 4 coats of Brightone just to make sure that I couldn't see the edges of that decal anymore, and let each coat dry for 4 hours. I really love how this tumbler turned out. The Brightone is just so shiny, and the colors are just such great fall colors, which is just my absolute favorite season. So let me know in the comments below what you think, and I will pull up the next video for you to watch right now.